Hey guys. Alright, so this is for the 2v2 I wanted to show you guys where Ballbarian does his air rush and it fails. And so his opponent is TheSith. Again, Sith generally plays as a defensive AI, so he generally will fend off an air rush. So we got Ballbarian as Confederacy. Sith as Galactic Empire. I believe Ballbarian is so the Confederacy and the Naboo. And from an AI scripter perspective, the Sith does not have it in his conditions that his ally have a spaceport before asking for resources, so that leads to asking for resources only 4 minutes in the game, and while him and his ally are in tech level 1. So if I haven't explained it in one of my other videos, or if you missed it, normally I do watch my games at 4 times speed up until about the 20, 25, 30 minute mark, and reduce it down. Technically I believe it's at 6 speed, 6 times normal speed. I use the Cheat Engine application. It's a great program. You can, for certain games, if you aren't the patient type, you can read memory addresses and play around with that. But it also allows you to speed up applications or slow it down. It has a speed selection or a speed hack. So it's great for these types of things where, like, you're testing out an AI script. Games in Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds or Age of Empires, especially if you can't micromanage as AI versus AI, and they're somewhat evenly matched, they can last hours and hours and hours. So yeah, it definitely comes in handy, especially if you only want to test one part of the script, say the attacking part, or how it manages its resources in tech level 4. And generally you don't want to throw it into a scenario editor and start from there. You kind of want to watch it in a realistic sort of setting, because you don't know the random things that can happen during a game. Workers being stuck, being attacked early, being attacked late, having actually more resources than you thought you'd normally have, etc., etc. So it looks like, I think there's only one Ballbarian that's, yeah, he just researched tech level 2, but everybody else is in tech level 2 at this point. And while the Sith doesn't completely and absolutely rush for tech level 3, the AI does try to get to tech level 3 kind of quickly. It doesn't like to stay in tech level 2 very long. I do believe they create Sith apprentices, or the AI does. We'll grab some holocrons for the purpose of holocron grabbing. The battlefield here. Very scary looking. I believe it's an entire 3 trooper recruits, maybe even more. Very scary attack. So like I said at the beginning of this recording, Ballbarian is doing his tech level 3 rush, Zero Rush. And so he is trying to get to tech level 3 possible. And generally his strategy is putting up a Jedi temple or a Sith temple in a spaceport. And the spaceport allows him to, if you've ever played any of these archvists, it says allows you to buy food or Nova, if you need it, if you have access to the age up faster. And he generally doesn't build a power port until after the buildings are completed, so his defenses are very, very low. For Tech Level 3, he doesn't build a troop center, not until, I believe, after his second airbase. Doesn't build any light turrets whatsoever. So, very, very vulnerable. And with fighters trading at 40 seconds and costing as much as they do, the 60 Nova, and even more costlier, and for civs like Confederacy, Trade Federation, and the Naboo, where they cost 5% more and take 5% longer to build, it's definitely a hamper. And being able to do an air rush with an AI as an AI strategy, without the micromanagement, you can see what's happening here. These fighters are just falling or smacking their heads against these heavy anti-air troopers and falling one by one. Now they are great in the sense that if you were on a map like Motherlode or I think it's Seamass, where the middle of the map is surrounded by water or surrounded by a large group of trees. What I mean to say is made up of large mass of water or large mass of trees, and those fighters, they just fly right over that. So the attack may be done faster, but with only 3 hits to take down a fighter or a bomber from an anti-air troop, kind of loses its viability, especially with AI scripts that cheat detect units or buildings. So they'll know as soon as you have an airbase up, or as soon as you have some fighters out, and even then, most cautious players will, if they're in Tech Level 2 still, while their opponent hits Tech Level 3, build 3 to 4, maybe even 5 anti-air troops, just in case. So this particular player, Galactic Empire here, he's being attacked by an air rush from both the Confederacy and the Royal Naboo, and still being taken out. Taking out those fighters. It's not even a competition. So right now he's got 2 anti-air turrets. He's got an air base where he's training fighters out of, and he's putting up this heavy weapons factory. And I believe the first unit that's trained out of there is an anti-air mobile. So there's just no chance in hell that Ballbarian is ever going to succeed in his air rush unless he actually accumulates some at his base and attacks with them, or just only keeps like a fighter and a bomber at his base while his opponents build up anti-air and sort of do a flip-flop. Where he'll train ground units just to or where he's training only the air units just to trick anti-air units into being created and resources being wasted on them. And he does build light walls around his base, even in, let's say, late Tech Level 3, it's almost 40 minutes into the game. Light walls, they're not very durable. They will fall past him out to troopers. Hell, even artillery or hop bomber will take them out just very quickly. I believe even bombers take out light walls very quickly. So there's kind of no point. I could see building the light wall in like Tech Level 2 maybe, or very early Tech Level 3, but it is really pointless. And like I said before, in the previous video, I think Ballbarian is mostly scripted to play against another human player, where the human player can't cheat detect if fighters or bombers are coming out, unless they do the all explore or visible. So we got some advanced mounted troopers here, heavy anti-air troops, several strike modes. Looks like 6 or 7 of them, pommel and anti-air mobile, and some troopers all in one attack. Moving kind of slowly because of that pommel and anti-air mobile. We got a couple fortresses up by Ballbarian, so it's got quite a few Geonosian warriors. And while they are flying air units that take out biological units very quickly, they have a very short range compared to fighters. They do no great anti-air damage, and so they're quite weak to fighters. And their best, let me say this, reload time of Geonosian warriors, their fire rate is very high compared to fighters, but not very high. It's slightly faster, and I believe they have a much higher damage bonus than fighters versus mounted troops and troopers. So they are great at taking out those fortress units like berserkers, rogue crusaders, dark troopers. They're excellent at taking those units out, especially with their unique upgrade, only costing several hundred, just a few hundred resources. It's like 200 food, 100 Nova, 100 ore. So elite Geonosian warriors are great, and especially taking out advanced mounted troops or those that like rebel mounted troops, Confederacy mounted troops. They're great at doing that. But as far as massing them up and trying to take out anti-air mobiles or trying to raid a base, they will kind of fall short compared to fighters. And so we got quite a bit of an attack here on the Confederacy base. We got a fortress in the back and a fortress out front. And Ballbarian is creating a lot of artillery because he has some excess Nova, I believe. Ooh, we got some berserkers here. So he's creating a lot of artillery, and that's not going to do much against those advanced mounted troops and those berserkers in there. And the Wookiees are throwing their bombers up against those fortresses, which is great, because bombers deal a ton of damage versus fortresses, and bombers have a ton of health. And they have a large range too, which makes them excellent. So, being severely weakened by trying to air rush for so long, I believe the total air rush, the total time attempting to air rush was almost 10 minutes, I believe. It was 18 to 19 minutes in game to 28 minutes, 29 minutes. So a lot of resources were put into that, and the economy was highly delayed. And in RTS games, especially like Age of Empires, like Battlegrounds, StarCraft, your economy kind of dictates your productivity. And so if you have low economy, you don't have very good productivity, and you can easily fall to even a semi-massed attack, or a repeating or continued attack. But then again, it all comes down to what type of units you have as well. So it looks like with that pommel, the mounted troop and the berserker hitting that fortress, it's going down quite quickly. Artillery fire is up and down. And so Empire's got some dark troopers out in the field. Wookiees have basic troop upgrades completed in the War Center. Got the 2-2 on the strike mechs. Enhanced bombers, no shield yet. Empire's got fast fighters. Empire has some very affordable air. Once you hit tech level 4 and you get the efficient manufacturing, you got a total 30% off on your air units. The only unfortunate thing is their air units, even though they don't cost as much anymore, is that they fall fairly quickly, and so they almost become fodder. You, for an AI script, they can only be, in my opinion, it's only solely my opinion, but their really only use is being base defense. What I mean by that is they just sit at the base and respond to attacks. Or they're used as a support unit on the battlefield. So your land army is already attacking, it's out in the middle of the field, and a minute or two later you get some fighters coming in and attacking troops left and right. Or bombers coming in and doing a siege run over an enemy mech army. But there's no way that they can do unshielded air units. There's no way they can do any real raiding, especially in a base full of fortresses or anti-air turrets. It's just impossible. Especially advanced anti-air turrets. Fortresses in tech level 4 are quite effective at sticking out air. So as you can see, the Confederacy was taken out pretty quickly. We got heavy pummels heading towards the Naboo. A lot of them. And we already got several bombers sitting on the main command center, taking that out. The base is already surrounded by military. It's just a matter of time. And there you go. Alright, I got the score screen coming up as well. So I'll go ahead and take a look at that if you like. I'm going to go ahead and cut the audio.